do speak about Dr. Futral, I'd like to share with you my, in keeping with our theme today, my sports career, briefly. It was brief. I took the required PE classes. I took beginning swimming twice, if that tells you anything. My claim to fame is that Rita Puckett was a classmate.
Yeah.
My roommate, Louise Bush Carricker, was on the swim team, and they were called the Nymphs. I didn't remember that. And you have seen Cynthia Harris's name on one of the slides. Cynthia Harris Webb was a classmate and a good friend. But that's my sports. Dr. Catherine Futral is the reason I majored in English and became an English teacher. I will never forget my first day in English 101 when she called attention to the fact that we had the same name. You see, my middle name is Catherine, but I never heard it unless I was in trouble. But she did point out that even though our names were spelled differently, they both started with the letter C. She told us, some friends a few years ago, that she had discovered that the name Catherine could be spelled 24 different ways. I was blessed that we shared the same first letter. I also remember very well when I was in her Shakespeare class. She would give line tests. It would consist of lines from the Shakespeare play that we were currently studying. And we were directed to indicate who said the line, to whom it was spoken, and then to describe the context in which it was said. I failed that first test. I had never failed a test in my life. My friend Elise Phillips was in the same fix, and she and I went together to see Miss Futral, to see what we could do to improve and make that grade better. She had a very good suggestion for us. She said, you need to read each play 3 times. Read it on your own, then you two get together and read it aloud, and then read it again on your own. Well, we did just that. We took her advice, and we had the best time reading those plays aloud. It seemed like I always got to read Falstaff's lines or the Jester's robes for some reason. But those times forged a lifelong friendship with Elise Phillips, a very dear friend. And we went on to make A's in the class because Miss Futral was merciful enough to drop the lowest grade for everyone in the class. Another memorable class was English Lit. We were required to read Nostromo by Joseph Conrad. I tried to read it, I really did, but I just could not get interested in it. I don't know what I did, whether it was Cliff Notes or maybe just skimming through it. I think I made a decent grade on the test. About 20 years later, there was a mini-series on TV, and I thought, this is my opportunity to make amends. I'll watch it. I just couldn't get interested in it. I taped it, thinking that I would, watch it later. I never did. By this time, Elise and Dr. Futral, she was by then, only we had begun to call her Catherine. We would get together very frequently to have lunch. So on one of those occasions, I confessed that I had not read Nostromo. She had a good laugh about it, and she forgave me. I learned much more than English from Dr. Futral. She taught me so much without her ever knowing it. Her concern and her love for people just always amazed me. She loved people, and it didn't matter who it was. she would give that person that she was with her full attention. It might have been a server in the restaurant, a former student, or a stranger. But she would just pull them in and talk to them in such a personal way. And they responded to her, and it was a wonderful thing to watch. I was privileged to have Dr. Catherine Futral as a mentor and a friend for 65 years. I saw this quote in a book that I was reading just a few days after she left us. And another dear Tiff friend reminded me of it a few days after that. It comes from Shakespeare's play called As You Like It, but don't ask me to do a line test on the quote. The quote goes like this: the world, I can't see this, man, I could say it from memory earlier. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, but one woman in her time played many parts. And Catherine played many parts in all of our lives, those of us who were blessed to know her. And I thank God for the influence and the impact that she had on my life. Psalm 116, verse 15 says, "Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints." Thank you.